In the heart of Philadelphia stands a grand building with Gothic architecture that sends shivers down the spine. The Eastern State Penitentiary, which opened in 1829, once housed some of America's most notorious criminals. However, behind its thick walls and watchtowers lie horror stories that make one's skin crawl. That night, a cold wind blew fiercely, carrying whispers from the past. The dark, starless sky added to the eerie atmosphere. A night guard, John, was patrolling the long, narrow corridors. The sound of his footsteps echoed, creating a haunting rhythm. Suddenly, John heard a faint sound coming from cell number 13, a cell notorious for its horror stories. Carefully, he approached the cell. The door was slightly ajar, and from inside came a heart-wrenching moan. John turned on his flashlight and directed its beam into the cell. There, he saw the shadow of a man with a pale face and empty eyes, sitting in the corner of the cell. The man was the ghost of a prisoner who had once been incarcerated there, a murderer who died in loneliness and suffering. The ghost began to speak, recounting his life story filled with cruelty and regret. His voice sounded like the whisper of the wind, sending chills down John's spine. Every night, the ghost appeared, repeating his tragic story, as if seeking forgiveness that never came. John felt terrified but also pitied the ghost. He knew that this prison not only confined bodies but also tormented souls. The Eastern State Penitentiary was not just a place of punishment but also a place where tormented spirits sought peace. Every corner held horror stories waiting to be told, making anyone brave enough to visit feel a deep sense of fear. A few weeks after John's experience, a new night guard named Sarah started working at the prison. Sarah was a young woman full of spirit and courage. She had heard the horror stories about the prison but never truly believed them. To her, they were just myths and legends. However, on her first night on duty, Sarah began to feel something strange. Odd noises came from the empty cells, and dark shadows seemed to move at the edge of her vision. Sarah tried to ignore her fear and continued her patrol. As she walked past cell number 13, she felt a bone-chilling cold. The cell door was slightly open, and from inside came a heart-wrenching moan. Sarah turned on her flashlight and directed its beam into the cell. There, she saw the shadow of a man with a pale face and empty eyes, sitting in the corner of the cell. The man began to speak, recounting his life story filled with cruelty and regret. His voice sounded like the whisper of the wind, sending chills down Sarah's spine. She knew she was facing something that could not be explained by logic. Sarah tried to stay calm and listen to the ghost story. She felt that the ghost just wanted to be heard, wanted someone to know his suffering. After a while, the shadow disappeared, leaving Sarah in confusion and fear. The story of the ghostly apparition in cell number 13 began to spread, attracting the attention of a group of paranormal investigators. They decided to visit the Eastern State Penitentiary and conduct an investigation. The group consisted of 5 people: Mike, the experienced team leader; Lisa, a medium who could sense the presence of spirits; Tom, the technician responsible for the equipment; Jenny, a writer documenting all events; and Alex, a skeptic always looking for logical explanations. They arrived at the prison at night, bringing advanced equipment like infrared cameras, voice recorders, and EMF detectors. They started the investigation in cell number 13, where many sightings had been reported. Lisa immediately sensed a strong spirit presence in the cell. She began communicating with the ghost, trying to understand what it wanted. Meanwhile, Tom set up cameras and voice recorders to capture evidence of paranormal activity. During the investigation, they experienced various strange occurrences. Odd noises were heard on the voice recorders, dark shadows were caught on camera, and the EMF detectors showed high activity. Alex, initially skeptical, began to feel fear and confusion. After several nights of investigation, the paranormal investigators managed to gather substantial evidence of paranormal activity. They discovered that the ghost in cell number 13 was the spirit of a prisoner named William, who was imprisoned for murder. William died in loneliness and suffering, and his spirit could not find peace. Lisa managed to communicate with William and learned that he was seeking forgiveness for his sins. He wanted someone to know his life story and understand his suffering. With the help of the investigators, Lisa performed a ritual to help William's spirit find peace. After the ritual, the paranormal activity in cell number 13 began to decrease. William could finally rest in peace, and the Eastern State Penitentiary became a bit more tranquil. The story of the Eastern State Penitentiary and William's spirit became famous, attracting much attention from the media and tourists. The prison remained one of the most haunted places in America, but was now also known as a place where tormented spirits could find peace. Sarah, John, and the paranormal investigators felt relieved that they could help William. They knew that the prison still held many mysteries and horror stories waiting to be uncovered. However, they also knew that with courage and empathy, they could help tormented spirits find peace. As the paranormal investigators continued their work, they began to notice that not all spirits in the Eastern State Penitentiary were as benign as William. One night, while setting up equipment in a different wing of the prison, Tom felt a sudden, icy grip on his shoulder. He turned around, but no one was there. The team decided to investigate further, sensing that they were not alone. Lisa, the medium, felt an overwhelming sense of dread as they moved deeper into the prison. She sensed multiple spirits, some of whom were angry and vengeful. These spirits were not seeking peace but were trapped in their own torment, lashing out at anyone who came near. The team realized they were dealing with forces beyond their understanding. Jenny, the writer, delved into the prison's history to uncover more about these malevolent spirits. She discovered that during the prison's operation, there were numerous reports of abuse and mistreatment of prisoners. Solitary confinement, in particular, drove many inmates to madness. The spirits they encountered were likely those of prisoners who had suffered immensely and died in agony. One such spirit was that of a man named Jacob, who had been wrongfully imprisoned and subjected to brutal treatment. His spirit was filled with rage and sorrow, unable to move on from the injustice he had faced. The team decided to focus their efforts on helping Jacob find peace, hoping it would calm the other restless spirits as well. Lisa prepared a ritual to help Jacob's spirit find peace. She gathered the team in the cell where Jacob had spent his final days. The air was thick with tension as they began the ritual, calling upon Jacob's spirit to come forward. As they chanted, the temperature in the room dropped, and a cold wind swept through the cell. Jacob's spirit appeared, his face twisted in anguish. Lisa spoke to him gently, acknowledging his pain and the injustice he had suffered. She assured him that his story would not be forgotten and that he deserved peace. Slowly, Jacob's expression softened, and his spirit began to fade, leaving behind a sense of calm. After the ritual, the team noticed a significant decrease in paranormal activity in that wing of the prison. The once oppressive atmosphere seemed lighter, and the sense of dread had lifted. They felt a sense of accomplishment, knowing they had helped another tormented soul find peace. However, their work was far from over. The Eastern State Penitentiary still held many secrets and restless spirits. The team decided to continue their investigations, determined to uncover more stories and help more spirits find peace. One night, while reviewing footage from their latest investigation, the team noticed something unusual. In one of the recordings, they saw a shadowy figure that did not match any of the known spirits they had encountered. The figure seemed to be watching them, its presence unsettling. Curious and a bit apprehensive, the team decided to investigate further. They returned to the prison and set up their equipment in the area where the figure had been seen. As they waited, the air grew colder, and a sense of unease settled over them. Suddenly, the shadowy figure appeared before them. It was unlike any spirit they had encountered before, its presence dark and menacing. Lisa tried to communicate with it, but the figure remained silent, its eyes burning with anger. The team realized they were dealing with a powerful and malevolent entity. The figure began to move towards them, and the team felt an overwhelming sense of fear. They knew they had to act quickly. Lisa began a protective chant, hoping to ward off the entity. The figure hesitated, its form flickering as if struggling against an unseen force. The team joined Lisa in the chant, their voices growing stronger. The figure seemed to weaken, its form becoming less defined. With one final, powerful chant, the figure let out a piercing scream and vanished, leaving the team shaken but relieved. They knew they had faced a formidable foe, but their combined strength and determination had prevailed. The experience left them more cautious but also more resolute in their mission to help the spirits of the Eastern State Penitentiary. In the days that followed, the team discovered more about the shadowy figure. It was the spirit of a former warden who had been notoriously cruel to the prisoners. His malevolent actions had left a dark stain on the prison, and his spirit had become a powerful and vengeful entity. The team realized that their work was not just about helping the spirits of the prisoners but also about confronting the darker forces that had contributed to the prison's haunted history. They knew they had to be prepared for whatever challenges lay ahead. With renewed determination, the team continued their investigations, uncovering more stories and helping more spirits find peace. They became known for their work at the Eastern State Penitentiary, attracting attention from paranormal enthusiasts and media alike. Their experiences at the prison strengthened their bond and deepened their understanding of the spirit world. They knew that their journey was far from over, but they were ready to face whatever came their way, armed with knowledge, courage, and empathy. The Eastern State Penitentiary remained a place of mystery and intrigue, its haunted history drawing visitors from all over the world. The team's work had brought a sense of peace to the prison, but the stories of the spirits they had helped continued to resonate. Their legacy lived on, inspiring others to explore the unknown and to approach the spirit world with respect and compassion. The Eastern State Penitentiary, once a place of suffering, had become a place of healing and understanding, thanks to the efforts of those who dared to uncover its secrets. As the team continued their investigations, they stumbled upon a hidden chamber deep within the prison. This chamber, long forgotten, was filled with old documents and artifacts from the prison's early days. Among the items, they found a journal belonging to one of the former wardens, detailing the cruel experiments conducted on the prisoners. The journal revealed that the warden had been obsessed with finding ways to break the spirits of the inmates, believing it would make them more compliant. The experiments were brutal, involving isolation, sensory deprivation, and physical torture. The team realized that many of the restless spirits they had encountered were victims of these horrific practices. The journal also mentioned a curse placed upon the warden by one of the prisoners, a man who had been wrongfully accused and subjected to the warden's cruel experiments. The prisoner, in his dying breath, cursed the warden and the prison, vowing that their souls would never find peace. The team understood that this curse was the source of much of the paranormal activity they had witnessed. Determined to break the curse, the team decided to perform a ritual to cleanse the prison and release the trapped spirits. They gathered in the hidden chamber, bringing with them items that had belonged to the cursed prisoner and the warden. Lisa, the medium, led the ritual, calling upon the spirits to find peace and move on from their torment. As the ritual began, the air in the chamber grew heavy, and a cold wind swept through the room. The team felt a presence watching them, but they continued with the ritual, chanting and invoking the spirits. Slowly, the atmosphere began to change. The oppressive feeling lifted, and a sense of calm settled over the chamber. The spirits of the prisoners appeared, their faces no longer twisted in anguish but serene and peaceful. The warden's spirit also appeared, his expression one of remorse and sorrow. Lisa spoke to him, acknowledging his wrongdoings and urging him to seek forgiveness. The warden's spirit bowed his head and slowly faded away, followed by the spirits of the prisoners. With the curse lifted, the Eastern State Penitentiary felt different. The once oppressive atmosphere was now lighter, and the sense of dread had dissipated. The team knew that their efforts had made a significant impact, helping the spirits find peace and bringing a sense of closure to the prison's dark history. The story of the cleansing ritual spread, attracting even more attention to the prison. Visitors came not only to experience the haunted history but also to learn about the efforts to bring peace to the tormented spirits. The team continued their work, now with a deeper understanding of the importance of empathy and compassion in their investigations. The Eastern State Penitentiary remained a place of mystery and intrigue, its haunted history drawing visitors from all over the world. The team's work had brought a sense of peace to the prison, but the stories of the spirits they had helped continued to resonate. Their legacy lived on, inspiring others to explore the unknown and to approach the spirit world with respect and compassion. The Eastern State Penitentiary, once a place of suffering, had become a place of healing and understanding, thanks to the efforts of those who dared to uncover its secrets.